Alright guys, here I am back again trying to fix my form. Sorry it took me so long to get this video out. I'm busy, I'm going to be moving soon. Also, it's been like really windy the last few days where I live, and so it's been hard to really determine the height control thing. And that's really what I'm going to focus on height control, and seeing if I can get the disc to fly a line that is pretty smooth on the y-axis, so like trying to keep it right below this blue line here, or somewhere in between this window. Anything above the green line I thought was too high. I didn't want to try and hit that, but anything below here is what I'm aiming for. But or if it gets here, I guess it's okay. I don't know. Really not trying to worry about distance, and in fact I probably was throwing about 75% as far as like trying to put power on the disc. So I'm not really trying to huck it out there. I'm really just trying to focus on what's causing me to throw too high or too low or whatever. The one thing that I did notice though is that my lines were pretty consistent ever since I started thinking about my form as far as like left to right and the way my arm was pointing. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these throws. As usual, this first set of throws are going to be the throws that made the line that I wanted to throw. Let's go ahead and take a look here. All right, so you can see it's like right below that line that I'm looking for. But I wanted to go back and take a look at what I'm looking at as far as what I'm looking for in the angle that I'm throwing. So when I'm looking here, one thing I noticed that when I reach back, you can see here that my reach back is now pretty consistent with trying to be not too inward. I'm also working the inline stepping as well, but I'm not as focused on that. I'm really just focused about getting the height of the disc. And from this angle here, you can see that my reach back is probably like right below my shoulder line. And then as I pull through, one thing I noticed that I'm doing a lot is that it kind of comes downwards, right? The line kind of comes downward. And the throws that I make, if it's angled like this towards, I guess, like kind of like downward towards my body, as I release, it's gonna have like a little upwards angle towards the line and gonna sail it up higher than I wanted to. And that's one thing I noticed on the bad throws. But these are the ones that kind of hit the line I wanted to throw. Let's take a look at this one. Same thing with this one. Starting out right about here. This one has kind of an angle to it too. I didn't really think about, like, I was trying to actually start it flat. I wasn't trying to hyzer any of these discs, but as I pull through, you can see it does that same thing where it's going to start here, and then when I release it, it's like a lot lower. It's down here instead. And you can even see there's a little bit of angle, but it goes off pretty smooth. One thing I wasn't doing that well, I think, was trying to keep it close to my chest. And I was watching Paul Macbeth throw, of course, and seeing this real consistent thing that happens is his angle doesn't change throughout his entire throwing motion. Like, it's the same angle, and mine changes quite a bit. Like from here, from being like kind of like angled from low to high, left to right, to kind of flat, and then kind of high to low, right to left. It changed that entire plane, and I think it has something to do with where I start my arm, and then as I rotate, not being close enough to the chest. Though it's still closer than it was when I first started trying to fix my form, but it's still kind of a little farther away than I want it to be. But that's not bad, and there wasn't too much wobble on that. There's still a significant amount of wobble on it that I really want to get away from. But again, like, trying to develop, trying to learn. Here's another throw. Same thing, right? Starting out flat. As I bring it across, it lowers to get across my body, and that's actually the flattest release that I've had, right? So like that's been the most consistent from where the angle of the disc started to pulling through, and that was probably the smoothest throw. So if you really look at how much I step into this throw, it's really not that aggressive of a step. I mean, it's one X step, one plant, and then turn and throw. And so I'm not building any momentum, and really did not rip it that hard, right? Like, I mean, but if you look at the release, like, very little wobble, maybe not very little, but minimal wobble for me. And I think that flat release was like really important in making sure that it hit the line I wanted to hit. And went a fair distance. I didn't set up the catch cam. I only have these two cameras, so one's my iPhone too. So I didn't really have an opportunity to set up a catch cam for this one. But you can see like the way that I'm lining up my throw is like I'm actively trying to point in the direction that I wanted to go in the opposite direction. Trying to set up that plane. Same thing right here, right at this line. As I bring it across, you can see here, right there. That's the moment where I'm doing something funky. I don't exactly know what it is. I guess like my grip isn't right, or my wrist is rotating, or maybe I need to get lower. Something I'm gonna try and fix. Definitely something to look at to try and correct this problem, because sometimes it's okay, but when I do put too much angle on it, it ends up being nose up, and when it ends up being nose up, it just flies way too high. Same thing with this one. This was not a bad throw. This is an understable. This is an eagle, and so when I throw it out flat, or as flat as I want to throw it, it kind of breaks right a little bit and then comes back to the left. But here it is, starting on an angle, like not flat. I wasn't trying to. I'm not intending to do that, but that's just the way it ended up going to throw. And the angle changes quite a bit, like from here to here. Something's happening where I am changing my angle, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm leaning too far into. I think maybe that's what it is. Like I'm leaning too far into it. I don't know. So I'm gonna look at fixing. But as it comes through, now it's nose up. At this point, it's nose up, and then it's gonna go a little bit higher than I wanted to. Probably not, actually. That's probably about the height that I wanted to throw it, but it definitely had to rise up into the throw instead of coming out flat. And so I worked this quite a bit the last few days, but it had been windy, so it was really hard to tell if what I was doing was like actually making a difference. If I was throwing it high or throwing it low, but I was really focused on reaching back and releasing at the same height. But now I see that I'm not really doing that. Like it's definitely there's a difference of like maybe like 6 inches from where I start my reach back to where I release it. Right? Like I don't know, maybe not. Maybe 6 inches is a lot. Maybe 4, but it's enough that it's causing me to change the angle that it starts on, and then come out and be like a little bit nose up. I'm sure I'm losing power on that. I'm sure it's kind of messing up. Um, I'm sure it's messing up the stability of the disc. There's some more wobble on it because of that. And I'm sure that the lack of even plane throwing is taking some smoothness out of the throw, so the rotation's not as good in my hips. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot I'm doing wrong. So here's another one. Not really starting out flat, but one thing I did notice is all my reach backs were pretty good. Like I'm not rounding that much anymore, and I'm also hitting the lines a lot more smoothly. That's kind of an early release. I definitely, noticed that I felt weirdly balanced on this one. Let's see what I did wrong there. Looks like, yeah, too far from my chest, right? Like as I'm pulling through, like way too far from my chest. Like that, I don't know if my elbow needs to be lower, so I need to start lower. There's a lot that I'm trying to figure out about like what is going to create a smoother motion. Like I feel like it's not very compact. Like my motion is very wide still, and I mean the throws have gotten better. I actually haven't played around yet since I started trying to fix my form, because I really wanted to see if it was going to make a difference in my round score if I could really control my line. So I'm looking forward to going out and playing around. But look at this one. This one you can see my arm's not even really extended. And a lot of change in angle. Like if you look here, it starts like this and comes through flat here, and then as I release, angle down a little bit. Right, and these are all the good throws. So let's take a look at the throws that I missed my line. Actually, I only threw in this set. I think I want to say like 30 or 35 throws. I only threw 2 that went way too high. So I was really hoping that there was going to be something revelatory, some kind of commonality in these 2 throws. It's kind of hard to tell with only 2, small sample size. I'm going to do another one of these where I try to combine all these ideas to see if I can, 1, make my throw more compact, but 2, also kind of figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong for all the different steps of all the different steps of what I'm trying to do wrong. So you can see here, starting on an angle again, but right away my wrist is turned. Like, look at that. Like before I even start pulling through, my wrist is turned. And now as I pull through, now there's like an extreme nose up on the angle. Look at this angle right here. Oh, this is not matched up well. Look at the angle on this. Before I even release it, it's up, and of course, it's sailing up high. I almost hit that guy. I didn't actually almost hit that guy. I was like maybe like 50 feet away. Same thing. Right away, the angle's turned. Look at the nose up on this one. Probably because, I don't know. I'm going to fix it. But, yeah, way too high, right? Like, if I was playing around and there was a tree up there, I would have hit the tree. And it faded out too quick. And now, like, the distance was really crappy on that. The other thing that I noticed in these throws is when I'm going to throw it is I start up too high. So, here, you can see that my wrist has it bent up a little bit, like it's above my shoulder as opposed to down below here. And then the distance it travels to the release is much greater because it's coming down and it's down here. So that, I guess that's adding to the nose up. I don't know. Yeah, so those are the two that went above the green. Actually, I don't even know if the other one went above the green line. But let's take a look at the ones that kind of hit that little zone in between. So you can see this one stars on a flat profile, kind of. But again, I turn, as soon as I start pulling through, I turn my wrist and it's already bent, already turned towards me. And it's not flat. It's going to cause nose up. And went a little too high. And I think in a match, that's probably not a bad throw, but it wasn't the line that I was intending. And so I really tried to say to myself, like, all right, what is it that I'm trying to do? Like, and not include the throws that kind of were good as a good throw, because I think that's an important thing for me to recognize is that sometimes if you get a good result out of a bad throw, that's not necessarily a great way to measure your success, or at least that's the way I feel about my own success, is that, like, if it wasn't what I meant to do, it's not a great way to look at that specific throw as a form analysis to say, like, okay, that was good because it wasn't my intention to throw that line. So same thing, starting out with angle, and then right away, wrist turns it. It's not too bad, still flat here, but look how drastic this angle becomes. I mean, look over here. Look, as soon as I bring it across, something, I don't know. Do I need to maybe I just need to bring my arm up higher as I'm bringing it through? I think I'm gonna go back out today and try throwing some more. Again, like, not a bad throw. It kind of got into this area here, but lost some distance. And, I'm only throwing 3/4 power, so I'm not really trying to rip them that hard. But still, same result every time is that as soon as it gets like here, like, there's an angle on the disc when it should be flat. I just bought this disc too. It's a Page Pierce Buzz. I like it a lot. It's like slightly understable, and so it kind of, like, if you throw it flat, it bends to the right and then comes back left a little bit. Same thing here. Take a look. Comes through. This one's not that bad, right? I mean, like, the angle's not bad. Rises up on me a little bit. Same thing. This one I started a little low. Again, as it comes from here to here, there's a huge angle change. Right? And it goes higher than I want it to. Not by much. But that's why I'm out here, to figure that out. This one starts on an angle. Big angle change, right? From here to here. It's almost like it's like scooping. And that one went too high. And it was early release. And it was a bad footwork. A lot wrong with that one. Look at that angle. Turning my wrist as I'm turning my shoulder out to start the rotation. And then big angle. Look at the scoop. It's like I'm dipping the back end of the disc into some water before I let it go. I don't know what I'm trying to do there. I'm really not trying to do that. I don't know what's happening. I'm trying to figure out. I'm going to go back out today and throw again to see if I can figure that out. Let me show you what I mean about when I see Paul McBeth's throw and how smooth his release is and how flat it is the entire time, no matter what angle he's trying to put on the disc. All right, so here's some of the throws that I'm talking about with McBeth. You look here, and as he goes to step into the throw, one thing I notice is that like he's not setting up his reach back until the very last minute, right? Like, which is kind of interesting. I know that his form is like super tight and compact. I noticed that his left arm really is compressed into his body. His shoulder starts to throw, and then but there's no shift in angle. Like if you look at the disc all the way through the release, it's on the same plane the entire time. There's no dipping of the disc in one angle to the next, and it just comes out so smooth. I mean, that's like a super hyzer throw, right? And he's trying to throw it high. Obviously, he's trying to throw over all the trees. Let's see if we can find another one. So he doesn't start his reach back. He's building this momentum. He's doing all this stepping. But look, as he gets into his throw, here's the disc angle, right? Right here. And then it never changes. I guess it changed like a little bit, but it doesn't go nose up. Like when he releases it, it's so smooth. So compact, so smooth. And I think that's the biggest thing I'm taking away from watching McBeth is it's not overwhelming power and it's not like a huge arm, even though he does have a huge arm. It's consistency, repeatability, it's like excellent form, completely intended throws. Like this one, he puts an Anheuser throw on it, right? So it starts like this, and it comes out like that. It doesn't dip like the way mine dips. I dip, you dip, we dip. So I don't know. I want to keep exploring this. I think this is a huge part of. Look at this throw. Like it's funny. It starts low. He brings it up, and like the reach back is out low, and he starts bringing it up. This is an interesting thing. Like I don't understand what he's doing exactly, but it's definitely something to emulate. But like, look how the angle of the disc doesn't change. Like his elbow is like lower. I don't know. I'm gonna try and mess with that a little bit to see what kind of results get yield from that. Look how smooth that throw is. Yeah, I don't know, but I'll get back on it with height control. Try it again. So